Coming up on Volusia Magazine, we go behind the scenes at the county's 911 call center. We'll learn the benefits of creating community gardens. And with the help of local agencies, we hear one woman's recovery story. Those stories and more coming up next. Hello and welcome to Volusia Magazine. I'm Amber Osmond. The benefits of gardening grow beyond the physical appearance and its harvest. Joe Seward's Volusia County urban and residential horticulturalist helps one local group get their community garden shovel ready.
Hi, I'm Joe Seward. Welcome to Solutions for Your Life. As you know, I'm the county horticulture agent with the University of Florida IFAS extension here in Volusia County. It's now community garden season. I get lots of calls every year about folks that want to start community gardens. Well, look where I am. I'm in the middle of a community garden in Daytona. It's called Derbyshire Place. They came to us last summer and they said, well, we want a community garden. And this is what they've been able to do in 7 months. Through private donations and the drive of their director.
This all came about when I spoke with Jill Toffer, nutritionist at the health department, and I was asking her questions about starting a health garden, and she said that I needed to speak to Joe Seward at UF, and he was the master horticulture specialist that could guide me in the right direction.
What you are seeing here is landscape fabric. They wiped out all the vegetation here, they put down the irrigation. You can see the little stubs popping up and the red flags. That's where the irrigation emitters are going to be. And each one of those represents a 4-foot by 12-foot raised bed on top of the landscape fabric. The reason we put this down is it makes it handicapped accessible, ADA compliant.
Those that are in a wheelchair or that are in a walker, we're going to have ADA raised beds enough so that they could come in with a wheelchair or come in with a walker and even sit and garden and be just as comfortable as anyone else.
And it also gives a nice, clean, well-drained surface because water goes right through the landscape fabric. So we'll put the beds right on top of this. Water will be able to drain through the beds and into the ground so you won't have wet feet.
Our community garden is 100 feet long by 80 feet wide, and it's going to sponsor and house 36 raised beds that will be 4 by 12. This will give all of the families who are going to rent a really big, large working space to work with.
Everything in here will be watered with low volume irrigation, which is going to conserve water. This garden is the culmination of partnerships, and we're nowhere without partnerships. So when Miguel called me, he asked, how do we create a community garden? I said, well, we got to get some partners in the community. He did that.
And I called Joe, and it was an interesting conversation. He basically gave me all the reasons why I shouldn't start a community garden, how hard it was going to be, and I think he was trying to weed me out to see if I was serious. But I was very serious, and he's lended me all of his support and expertise, and it's been invaluable. And because of that, we've been able to get a lot accomplished, and we would not have been able to do it without the UF IFAS Extension Office.
Each bed will be rented to a member of the community. We hope to involve a senior center nearby, a school nearby.
We were lucky to partner with Highlands Manor, which is the government subsidized living center next door. The average age there is 65 and up, and we're excited that the seniors of that community are very interested in renting our plots and doing their own farming. I have papers upon papers of people that are interested, but I can tell you we're already going to have a waiting list. Just to the east of us is another local church, Living Faith Church, that also sponsors a school up to 8th grade. And the local pastor there, Pastor Tony Barhu, is very interested in renting out the plots for his children so that they can come and learn to garden and learn to farm and learn about science. And this is really going to help us to bridge the intergenerational gap and bring our community together.
Miguel, it looks like, we're ready to go. What's our next step from here?
Well, the next step from here is we're going to finish putting down the rest of the UV plastic.
Yep.
So that we can make sure we don't have weeds coming up. And then it's time to bring in the dirt and soil and bring in the boxes. We have tons of partners. Humana has decided to sponsor our work day, so they're going to supply us with gloves and a lot of the tools we need to shovel and bring in the soil, and we're going to bring the whole community together to do it, because it's time to, at that point, start farming.
I would like to thank our partners here at Derbyshire Place and all the wonderful contributors to this project. It's a great testament to how a community can come together and create something that's going to be productive and meaningful to not only Derbyshire Place, but the surrounding community. If you'd like more information on how to create a community garden or any other horticultural topic, you can call us at the University of Florida IFAS Extension in Volusia County. Our number is 386-822-5778, or you can also find us on the internet at volusia.org/extension. For Solutions for Your Life, I'm Joe Sewards.
Volusia.org is your online county government resource. View the County Council agenda and meeting calendar, as well as review past meeting minutes and archived video and audio. Save time and bypass the lines by going online to register your car or boat, pay a bill, and much more. Plus, you can use the site to discover activities, workshops, and ways to become involved with your community. Volusia.org is your portal to everything Volusia County.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
A Volusia County woman has come a long way in the last couple of years. Thanks to several local agencies, she's cleaned up her life, become a good mother, and earned college degrees. Dr. Holly Smith introduces us to a 34-year-old woman who is making a difference by talking about her experiences and mentoring others.
The opioid addiction has become an epidemic in the U.S. and here in Florida. You've probably heard sad stories about addicts, babies who were born addicts, and the deaths of addicts. Well, this is not one of those sad stories. You are about to hear from a woman who was college-bound, but who became addicted to opioids, her winding and dangerous path, and her life today now have her advocating for children across America. We invited Helena Gerard here to the Florida Department of Health to tell her story.
2010, I was very broken. I had gone to Gainesville to transfer to another school for college, and I ended up making a lot of money bartending and being in the party scene, and it really escalated pretty quickly. I had been at my job for 5 years and was introduced to the opiate scene, and my life went from making a lot of money and partying and being a social butterfly to really isolating myself, being ashamed of even what I looked like at work, or I was ashamed to be with my friends. I didn't go out with them anymore. I just really had begun isolating myself, and until I lost my home and was arrested for theft and lost my job, I didn't really think I had a problem.
In a very tight time span, you lost your stepfather unexpectedly and your fiance to opioid addiction was your fiance. How did you handle that?
I thought that could never happen to me, and I had no coping skills. I had no way of dealing with the pain. I just didn't want to feel it anymore. So I didn't have friends. You know, he was my support. So he was gone, and the bad decisions that I would try to do that he would talk me out of, he wasn't there to talk me out of anymore. So I really started hanging out with people in worse areas than I had ever been before. I went from living in a very nice home in Ormond Beach to hoping that I could sleep on a bare mattress at a place where I didn't know, you know, with people I didn't know, and probably not sleeping, with, you know, just doing very dangerous activities, putting myself in very vulnerable situations. There was violence. I watched violence. I experienced violence. I ended up being sexually assaulted. I ended up having broken ribs, a fractured spine. I had, and it still wasn't enough. It still just was what I felt like I deserved. Even the doctor in the hospital was like, well, this is what you get when you mix drugs and alcohol. My dad said that to me. My little sister said that to me. So it just kept being repeated to me. And I had no doubt in my mind that that was what I deserved and how my life was going to play out. Until I found out I was pregnant. The pregnancy was a result of a sexual assault. So I was very nervous about being a mom. I was 29 years old. I had no idea what I was doing, and every time she kicked, all I thought was, oh my gosh, she's gonna break my ribs too. So I finally ended up going to the doctor at the health department, where I met Dr. Carbiner, and she said I had potential.
What did Project Warm have to offer you?
This paintbrush had this beautiful life painted, and 2 weeks after my daughter was born, I decided to turn in my paintbrush, I guess. I went to my counselor and I said, listen, I have warrants. I have multiple warrants in multiple counties, and I think that we should call my probation officer and let them know where I am. And I still thought that they were going to let me stay there.
We'll have more on Helena's story after this quick break.
The Volusia County Council meets on the second floor of the Thomas C. Kelly Administration Center, located at 123 West Indiana Avenue in DeLand. Public participation begins at 9:30 a.m. and the meeting agenda starts at 10 a.m. A live video stream is available at volusia.org/audio, and agendas are posted at volusia.org/agenda. Future meeting dates are available online at volusia.org.
While I was in Volusia County Jail, I was able to go to the nurse's station and pump my breast milk 3 times a day. While everyone else went to eat, I did that. I wasn't able to send my milk home, but because I really advocated for my daughter having access to it. The reason that I wasn't able to send it home was because they didn't have a biohazard refrigerator to store it in. So the sergeant actually got on board and got a refrigerator for moms to send milk home to their babies.
So you went to Family Renew for temporary housing, but they had requirements of some sort to have you stay there?
One of the things that they require is a checking account or a savings account. You have to save 50% of your income, and report it weekly to show that you're making progress to move forward to attain your own housing. And I couldn't get a checking account or a savings account. I can't tell you how many banks I went to that they said absolutely not, your credit's terrible, you don't even have any money. And so I finally found a bank that let me pay $10 a month for a year to have this account. I took parenting classes there. They gave us nutrition classes. We learned budgeting. I was connected to Mid-Florida Housing to fix my credit. I was connected to ELC for Early Learning Coalition for child care assistance. I learned how to ride a bus. I'd never done that in my life. I did not know you had to cross the street to take the bus back home, so I got to ride all over Daytona a couple times.
So when you were ready to leave Family Renew, you were looking for safe housing, somewhere where you could raise your daughter. Was it easy?
Even when I had enough money, I had good credit, I had a job, like 2 jobs, and I had sufficient income to maintain the rent. I kept going places. I even had a lady tell me they didn't want people like me living there.
We spoke to Healthy Start. How were they playing into your whole painting your picture?
They worked with me on breastfeeding and the ages and stages that were appropriate for rolling over and tummy time and what noises they should make. So that was when Healthy Start was first introduced to me. And then when I was in jail, everybody thought I had a fancy lawyer because I would come back with this folder, but it was really just updates on them having checked on my daughter for me and telling me how she was doing.
So all of these agencies helped in some way, but you did the work.
I did do the work. And now I have a fellowship that is through the Pritzker Children's Initiative in Chicago, and I get to go all over the country and talk about the importance of brain science for the development of babies in utero and up to ages 3, and how early investment is so important to our futures.
Sitting here now and looking back to 2010 or 2011 and how far you've come, what are your thoughts on that?
It's just unbelievable. I would have never believed that my life would have taken off the way that it did. It's just such a blessing every single day.
The Cassadaga Spiritualist Camp is 58 acres residing within the town of Cassadaga. We are a community of spiritualists, and spiritualism is the science, philosophy, and religion based on the continuity of life, that life continues on after the change called death. After the Civil War, there was a big boom to spiritualist followers, people like Abraham Lincoln, Mary Todd Lincoln, Ulysses S. Grant. We did have one spiritualist by the name of George Colby. He would do seances and he would bring through his guides. He had one specific guide, a Native American guide named Seneca, who came to him and told him he was to go south to Florida and form a winter home for the Northern Spiritualists. We are a religious organization. We offer church services. We do have our bookstore and welcome center, which is a great place to start when visiting Cassadaga. We do also offer a historical tour, which is a really good, well-rounded general information for those looking for more information on spiritual.
When emergencies happen and seconds count, our 911 operators are the vital link between callers and first responders. Kevin Captain takes us inside the Volusia County Sheriff's Communications Center.
Have you ever wondered the process behind the scenes after having to make a 911 call for a medical emergency? In Volusia County, that all begins at the Emergency Operations and Sheriff's Communications Center in Daytona Beach, where communication professionals set the wheels of first responders into motion.
I'm in 140.
Assistant Director Claudine Boring gave us a special tour of the Sheriff's Communications Center. So, Claudine, this is the Emergency Operations Center, and inside the EOC is the Communications Center.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about who all works in here?
Yes. We are a consolidated communications center. We handle all three disciplines. Our call takers are state certified public safety telecommunicators, and they are trained to handle law enforcement, fire, and EMS call handling.
When you call 911, the dispatcher first needs to determine your location. And even though many of today's cell phones can aid in determining your location, dispatchers need to be able to pinpoint exactly where you are to ensure a timely response. This can be even more important at shopping malls or at large events, where just an address isn't enough detail.
Location verification is paramount. This is a very large county, and the best interrogation and instructions won't do any good if the location is wrong. Fast isn't great if fast is wrong. So with that being said, they are very stringent in obtaining the city, the cross streets. We have multiple intersections in different cities.
Volusia County EMS uses a tiered response system, which is a criteria-based dispatching system that determines, through medical questions asked by the dispatcher, the type of public protection response that's needed for a given emergency. For example, if the nature of the call is for uncontrolled bleeding or a person who is unconscious, they are considered time-life critical situations.
If we know that there is a time-life critical component, we are dispatching all three disciplines of Volusia County EMS, fire, in conjunction with law enforcement. Law enforcement will arrive on scene, secure the scene, and then they will advise what resources are needed at that point.
The goal is to match the needed resources to the nature of the call.
150, I copy, you're on a bed delay.
Using geographic information technology, Volusia County EMS uses what is called a dynamic deployment system. This is a framework that spatially displays historical call volume, which is then color-coded onto the Volusia County map. So when an ambulance receives a call, this information improves decision-making for where to relocate other available ambulances to ensure optimal coverage throughout the county at any given snapshot in time. Yet, even with this high level of sophistication, there is still a need for a wizard behind the curtain. Lieutenant Stephanie Outlaw has an important job of being one of the county's system status controllers.
It's my job to make sure that we have ambulances in the areas where we have calls for service. It's a nonstop, basically a chess game for 12 hours a day. I make sure whenever ambulances get moved from one place to another, if somebody goes on a call, I have to move ambulances to fill those spots. Sometimes more than one call comes in at a time, so I have to move several ambulances at once.
As you're driving throughout Volusia County, occasionally you'll see an ambulance in various parking lots, and at that snapshot in time, that's where they've been assigned to post so that they can be available in a moment's notice to provide a timely response. While no one wants to call 911 for a medical emergency, it's reassuring to know that Volusia County's protective service professionals are committed to provide this vital service around the clock. They help keep Volusia a safe and protected place to work, play, and live. For Volusia Magazine, I'm Kevin Captain.
Throw away all your preconceived notions about quilting. Nearly 1 in 20 Americans is a quilter, and this patchwork of U.S. artisans annually spend a combined $4 billion. Kate Sark has more on why people love this hobby so much.
Quilting. It's not just for your grandmother. When you think of quilting, you might think of elderly women in rocking chairs, but the American Quilter Society is here to dispel that notion.
AQS was formed as a way to honor today's quilter. So when we first came into being, there was no organization for quilters themselves. And quilts were not highlighted as art so much. And so when the Schraders founded AQS, it became the place for quilters to come show their work and get inspiration and ideas and community with other quilters.
Formed in 1984, Meredith Schroeder wanted to develop a group that gave national recognition to the quilters and their work. Since that time, AQS has grown to over 700,000 members. And as the popularity of quilting has grown over the years, so have the techniques and technology. While there are still many quilters who hand quilt, there are a multitude of machines and mechanics that quilters utilize for their craft.
Quilting has changed over the years. You know, it started hand quilting, and there's still a lot of quilters who quilt by hand, but now we have top of the line home sewing machines, long arm machines, you know, for quilting, all kinds of tech gadgets, and so it's really morphed over the years.
Today, the craft of quilting varies from those who use a hand needle and thread to artists who sketch a design, upload it to their system, and watch the machine do the work. And the works they produce are just as varied as well. From large quilted blankets to wall quilts displayed as art to quilted bags, there's a piece for everyone. As you might suspect, the artists behind the needle are just as different as their varied approaches and finished products.
There's all kinds of different demographics who quilt. You know, you have people who've been quilting their whole lives, and then you have people who are younger who have just started, might be more into modern quilting, or maybe got a brand new machine that they want to try out. They may be doing embroidery or embellishments with crystals, and there's all kinds of different people who love to quilt.
Part of AQS's mission is to bring all the varied people who have a passion for quilting together. In addition to regular groups and gatherings, the organization hosts events annually. In 2019, they celebrated their 35th anniversary at Quilt Week in Daytona Beach at the Ocean Center. The popular event included exhibits, classes, appraisals, and contests with total cash prizes of $54,000. So if you want to learn to quilt, where do you start?
You should come to any of our shows and take a class. We have classes from beginners to intermediate and advanced quilters and anything you can think of.
And while Quilt Week only makes its way to Volusia County once a year, there are a wealth of resources available year-round, including local organizations and AQS memberships. For more information on local organizations, visit floridaquiltnetwork.com. And for more information on AQS, visit AmericanQuilter.com. For Volusia Magazine, I'm Kate Sark.
Stay connected with the latest Volusia County news, events, and updates on our social media channels. Like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Catch up with previous stories on YouTube, or just head over to our website, volusia.org. That wraps up this edition of Volusia Magazine. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. If you have any questions about the show, you can feel free to give us a call at any of the numbers you see listed here, or you can log on to volusia.org and click on the News tab at the top of the screen to find us. And we hope you won't forget to listen to Volusia Today. That's Volusia County Government's weekly public radio broadcast. Volusia Today airs every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday mornings on the local radio stations you see on your screen. For Volusia Magazine, I'm Amber Osmond. Have a wonderful evening.